Hello, Vanguardians. This is Anthony here from Epic CFV 365, coming at you today with a
CBD deck profile.
Brought to you by my friend
Jason.
Don't forget, like, subscribe buttons are down below. Be sure to check us out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for all of our Vanguard videos. Check out the links down below for Facebook, eBay, Big N, Dave and Adams, and of course this is also brought to you by our locals, which is Game Time here in Clemens, North Carolina. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Before I actually start with the deck, I need to go ahead and put this out there. I have already made changes to the deck, so it is different from what I used at Springfest, but I'll let you know what I've subbed out. My starter was Carbon, and he's pretty much the staple starter for CBD in general. He's a colony maker without a counterblast, pretty much. So if your opponent has a lock card, you push him into soul, search your deck for a grade 1 or less, pop it out on the field. He's a really good early card. Go ahead and start with the grade 3s here. And of course, for CBD, it's the boss card of the deck. I mean, it's a CBD deck. You can't run it without him. His limit break is what makes him so stupid. And it's basically you soul blast one card. Whenever your opponent's card would unlock at the end of their turn, you retire the card and you draw a card. So let's say your opponent has like 3 lock cards. You just soul blast 3, retire them all, and then you get to draw 3 cards. That's why this deck is so dumb. Plus it's a limit break, which means that you can just ride to 3 and not even care if your opponent's going to stride or not, because you're going to get hand advantage late game. Now his other effect is just counterblast 1, ditch a card, and then lock a card, which is actually also pretty decent if you need to get that 1 lock off. Alright. These were Garnet Star Dragons, part of the Photon Garnet Star Legion from a trial deck a while back. Garnet Star, basically when you Legion, you lock front and back row. It's really good, and he gets 3,000 when he swings. So he's always swinging for 23. And I like to use him late game to try and get Chaos Breakers back in, Triggers back in. By the time the game's over, I have a deck full of crits. That's pretty much how this works. And 2 Chaos Bringer. Throughout all of Springfest, I never had to ride this guy. Pretty much I always just ditched him for stride. But if I ever did, like, his thing is basically a limit break where if your opponent has 2 or more lock cards at the end of their turn, or at the end of your turn, at the beginning of their main phase, you counterblast 1, search your deck for CBD, Superior Ride on top of him, and then you're set for his limit break. And his other thing is when you ride him, you counterblast 1, lock a card. That's pretty much all he does. Alright, we'll move on to grade 2s here. I changed my lineup from 4 to 3 iron. 4 just kind of cluttered a little too much. I ended up drawing him way more than I needed to, and I just didn't have anything to do with him. What he does is when he comes out, if your opponent has a lock card and you have a Vanguard with Chaos in its name, you counterblast 1, lock another card. And that is very, very good early game anytime. He's not a G-break, he doesn't require anything else other than the name and the lock card. And as long as you have a Vanguard with Chaos in its name, he's always an 11k swinger. So I personally like him better than Radon in this situation. He's just another staple for the deck. Okay. Now, this is probably going to contradict my previous statement, but I subbed these out because the Photons I was borrowing were from someone else in our group. These were Photons from the Garnet Star Photon Legion from the other trial deck. What Photon does is his ability is absolutely free. He comes out, if your opponent has a lock card, just lock another one for free. It's very stupid. And I run 3 Colony Maker. Basically, like I said before, it's like Carbon, but it's a counterblast. Your opponent has a lock card, you call her, counterblast 1, search for a grade 1 or less, pop it out on the field wherever you want. Move on to grade 1s here. I run 3 Zinc. This is what made CBD stupid again, and I absolutely love this card. I never ran out of it because of the whole Legion recycle. Basically, you put her into the soul. If your opponent has a lock card and you have a Chaos Vanguard, you soul charge 2 and counter charge 2. So it's like infinite fuel for CBD. Basically, every time I'd run out of stuff, I'd use her. I'd call her out with either Carbon or Colony Maker, and push her in, Soul Charge 2, Counter Charge 2, you're ready for your next turn, pretty much. I also ran 2 Volt Line. If he boosts a successful hit, one of your opponent's cards that are locked becomes Omega locked. And he is really good early game pressure. My opening turn, as soon as I got CBD out, I would push Carbon in. Once I locked something, I would call him out right behind the Vanguard. People always guard if they see a Volt Line because they don't want that Omega lock out. And I only run 2 because they're severely easy to pull out. All my grade 1 ratios are a little off because you're going to pull everything out with either Colony Maker or Carbon. So. I also run 3 Palladium. This guy saved me in a lot of games. So his thing is, you counterblast 1, you push him into the soul. At the end of your opponent's turn, when a card would unlock, you push him in and you relock that card. So he's not necessarily an Omega lock, but he's pretty much just another free lock. So what can happen is, let's say your opponent has 3 lock cards, you can CBD 2 of them and retire them, and you can just push him in and relock the 3rd one. So that way you have something already out for other skills to go off, like Iron and Carbon and everything that requires having a locked card already. And he's also a 7k booster, which makes beautiful columns. I only run 1 Charcoal because, like I said, grade 1s are so easy to get out. You pull him out with either Carbon early game or Colony Maker early game. And let's say, like, you could stay at like 3 damage the whole game with just him out. He's the limit break enabler, and he's also a 7k booster, so, you know, also very good numbers for columns. These were Destiny dealers. They are the Stride fodder for Ling Joker. Basically, you know, it's a grade 1 that acts as a grade 3 when you ditch for Stride. And I'm very happy about this because I finally got my 4th one right before Springfest. Prometheum. He is the old school PG for Ling Joker back from set 12. And I like him because he can block rear guards. It's not one of the damage on flippers where you have to block a Vanguard attack. Plus he's a Starvader because, you know, everything in here requires Starvader at some point. Alright, so trigger lineup. 2 draws. And I ran 10 crit. 4 Wise Soldat, 2 Null Chameleon, and the big crit of the deck is Paradigm Shift Dragon. Now this thing is about as dumb as it gets crit-wise, because basically all you do is you pop him to the top of your deck from field. If your opponent has a lock card, you lock another one in the back row. This thing is stupid for recycling. Like, I would always put back just regular crits and other triggers with the Legion, because I knew that if I ever drew one of these, I would never use it to guard. I would call it, put it back on top, and like I said, by the time the game is over, I have nothing but crits left in the deck. Plus, he's also a free lock, which is also dumb. And of course, the usual 4 heal triggers. I just like Tellurium because she's cute. Alright, so moving on to the Stride Zone. The bread and butter of the deck, really. I have 4 Chaos Universe. I pulled 1 SP, I'm very happy about that. Universe is probably one of the dumbest cards in this deck. He is also the other reason why CBD is good again. Because when you stride him, it's an axe skill once per turn. You counterblast 1, you flip a copy of him. You lock 1 card from your opponent's hand wherever you want. Your opponent gets to pick the card from their hand, but you get to pick where it goes. So stride him, and then you just pick a front row open spot, lock 1 card there. And his secondary skill is if you have 2 or more face up in the G zone already when you stride him, you just pick another rear guard that's already out and lock it. It's so dumb, and it's so good early game and late game. I'd always end up going him either first stride or last stride, if I had to. For mirror matches, 2 amnesties. I ran into 1 mirror match, and it scared the crap out of me, too. This guy, he knew what he was doing. He was pretty much running like a carbon copy of my deck. Carbon pun. He also ran like a fully SCR deck. I respect this dude so much because this is like the one game out of the whole Springfest that scared me, literally. I wasn't expecting to run to a mirror match first game, but sorry, I went off on a tangent. Basically, his skill is when he swings, you choose any number of lock cards on the field, unlock them. He gets 3,000 for each one, and then if you unlock 3 or more, he also gets a crit. So, I mean, he's perfect for mirror matches, pretty much. Any Messiah Stride unit, pretty much, is perfect for mirror matches, because you get to unlock your own stuff. Not to mention, you also get huge off of it. And I never had to use this guy, but I like having him. It's Big Crunch Dragon. I only run 2 of him because, I mean, if you're going to use him, you're only going to use him once. By the time I play him, I've either lost or he's like the absolute last resort game ender. His skill is also once per turn. It's a Counterblast 1 and Persona Flip. And if you have 2 or more face up in the G zone, you Omega Lock an entire column. So I think I only had to use him once at Springfest. I don't remember what I was playing up against, but I used him once and it actually won me the game just because the guy didn't have that one column to swing with. Taking out an entire column is stupid, honestly. It's kind of like Root Flare, but it's a lock instead of retire, so your opponent's not going to be using those cards at all. Also, it's good fodder for when you ride CBD, because the next turn you're just going to pop those cards anyway. So basically, I did okay with this deck at Springfest. I'm actually very happy with my results, except for that last round. I ran into an Alfred deck with a Holy Squire Dragon. I didn't see that coming, and he pretty much just plowed me over with it. But I got him to 4 damage, I think, so I'm actually really proud of that. Other than that, I love this deck. CBD was my very first, I don't know, I guess you call it avatar for this game after Blaster Blade. And I can't picture ever running another deck.
Any other changes you'd be making?
Actually, I'm switching this deck up quite a bit. The reason you saw the Cradles and where is he at? And Vorium is because I'm working on a CBD reverse build, which I heard actually did very well. It all runs off of Worldline Dragon, pretty much. If you don't know what Worldline Dragon does, while he's in the Soul or on the Vanguard Circle, you ditch a reverse card from your hand, look at the top 5, add any Link Joker card you want to your hand out of those. And that's just crazy for searching and stuff, so I'm just going to add a few reverse support cards. Him, Vorium, maybe one other one, I'm not sure. And I'm just going to add a bunch of reverse units to this deck, see how that works. And eventually I'm probably going to get some more Photons, because like I said, I was borrowing 4 from a friend of mine. And other than that, I'm just hoping to see that deck works out well.
Alrighty, that was a CB deck profile. Don't forget, like, subscribe buttons down below. Be sure to leave a comment with what you think of the deck. Check us out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for all of our Vanguard videos. Be sure to check out links down below for Facebook, eBay, David Adams, Big N, and Locals Game Time and Clemens. This has been Anthony and
Jason
of Epic CFV 365 saying, if you're going to card fight, make it epic.